And we have said it that tomorrow will not belong to us. They have been cheated for too long.
Mr.
All right. How's everything? Very good, very good.
Okay. Mr. Shu,
Yes.
please, can you kindly share your thoughts with us about illicit flow of funds, cross-border corruption, and so on and so forth, given your many years of experience as a journalist?
Yes. What is obvious is that the outflow of illicit financial resources out of Nigeria has not stopped. It may have changed strategy or it may have changed name, but it has not stopped. It's just a matter of one party outdoing the other in terms of strategies. And I've done this for 12 years. So I know when money is moving, I know where money is hidden, and I know how these transactions are carried out. That was why I was saying right there that on the internet I've been a special counsel fighting corruption all by myself for the last 12 years. But what is obvious is that we haven't learned our lessons yet to understand that our solution is not going to come from the outside. Because even in those Western countries where people are talking about corruption, what they do is to prevent corruption from happening. Because it's more costly, more expensive to recover monies that have been stolen. When you give people the latitude and the laxity to steal as much as they steal in Nigeria, they get the best lawyers. And it's not only here alone, they get the best lawyers in the US, they get them in the UK, they get them everywhere. So it doesn't stop. But if you want to put an end to our misery in terms of corruption of the scale that takes place in the international scene, you need to really find leaders, not only leaders who are not corrupt, but who understand how the financial system, the complex financial systems work around the world as to prevent this country from bleeding any further. That is what I'm saying.
Thank you very much. But I would like to ask you again, given the fact that many people think there is a new government in place, would you say there have been some improvement in corruption?
Do you refer to the government that has been around for 3 years as a new government? There's nothing new about them, and they haven't improved in fighting corruption. We have said that openly. You cannot be fighting corruption and you see somebody is corrupt in the People's Democratic Party. People like Akpabio, and when they join the APC, they become saints. Or someone like Oji Zokalu is on trial under People's Democratic Party. And then when he joins the APC, he gets the chance to go to hospital and claim that he's undergoing surgery that will need about 12 weeks of rest or recuperation. That's nonsense. And nobody is fooled by all of this rhetoric about fighting corruption. There's nobody fighting corruption around here. People are just using corruption to fight, for themselves.
Now, I want to ask, what role do you think the role you think international communities are playing as far as illicit funds transferred abroad is concerned? Do you think they are doing enough to support them?
Until you start punishing the banks that are serving as conduits for transferring money abroad, until you start naming them, shaming them, fining them, jailing their corrupt officials, as they do in the Western world. If you steal $50,000 in the US, okay, let me give you an example. For Halliburton case of 180 million bribery that took place in Nigeria, the US made over $6 billion from fines imposed on these characters that were involved. They jailed people, and Nigeria was only able to make $25 million because they declared Dick Cheney wanted, the former vice president of the US. At the moment the money came, the lawyers hired by the federal government took the money away. Today you cannot explain what happened to the money that they got from Halliburton by just declaring Dick Cheney wanted. So that's what we are talking about. There are people here who don't even understand how the world is working, and who don't understand that you can actually use this crime that has been committed, if you do it very well, to fight against everybody that is involved, including international actors who have been involved, because there's a trail when money moves. The volume of money that's moved out of Nigeria, there's a paper trail for it. And we need also forensic investigators at home. But the point I'm making is that you have to close the tap. Until you close the tap, you probably will be wasting your resources running after monies that had been stolen already. And another thing is the hypocrisy about how we recover money. Abacha is dead. We are after every penny he stole. Babangida is still around. You go and work, you go and visit him whenever you want to run for office. Oba Obasanjo is still around. All the thieves who are still alive, you are not doing anything about them. But you are going after the one who died. And that means if we had tried to recover from the ones alive, probably would have recovered even more money from them than we recover from the guy who died some almost 20 years ago.
On the final note, sir, I just want to ask, now you're a presidential candidate.
Yes.
What will you do differently when you get to power as far as corruption is concerned?
You know, I'm surrounded by all these APC people here. If I reveal my strategies, they will steal it. But honestly, the most important thing is to prevent people from stealing. And we know how to do it. And a lot of ways to do it includes, digitalizing how we carry out transactions. There's no point anymore paying salaries through, buckets of water. There's no point anymore, not using. There's no reason why we are not using blockchain technology, for example, to ensure that our process of contracting is transparent. There's e-contracting these days that can be done. There's a lot of ways, even to cut down on the number of ghost workers in the country, which I heard is about 25% of our workforce. You can just put fingerprint scanners at the door of every ministry. You can put a retina scanner in the front of everybody's office so that everybody who is entering and getting out of these offices are people who are alive, recognizable. At the end of the month, you use that data to pay their salaries. That way you don't lose any money unnecessarily. But when you expose your process and system to thieves and you make it possible for them to manipulate it, you still have universities in this country. If you want to go and rent a hall from them, they are writing the receipt with long hands on the paper. Nobody's doing that anywhere in the world. So there's a lot of things that we can just get rid of in terms of how transactions are carried out. At the moment we do that, we reduce the number of people who have nothing to do with this kind of transactions, and we close the loopholes that made it possible for people to steal. I propose, for example, that there should be nothing like security votes for governors, because those kind of money could go into the payment of salaries of workers. If there are security challenges in a state, let the governors pay directly into, an account for which that security issue is managed. If it's to the police, let's know the amount of money. Let it be transparent. Let there be a transaction that is digital, not that you just take out, a security vote and you don't account for how. There has to be this detailed accounting for everything that we do in the public sphere in Nigeria. So we already know this. We have had it figured out, and that is why we cannot wait. We're itching to get into office as president, so that you see so many of the things we have been talking about in action. Very simple. You'll be surprised how we can turn this country around within a few months. But you have to get rid of the analog brain people and go in the direction of a digital era, completely digitalize our public service.
Thank you very much.
Yes.
The space wasn't enough for me to be able to get it. So I'm so sorry that I have to ask you.
Thank you.
Ask you a few questions.
I hope there are a few questions.
Very few, because I also have some.
Yes.
Okay. I like the fact that you talked about just now that we want to digitalize our systems so that we can easily trace fraud.
Yes.
So I'm going to ask you again to talk about the need for digitalization. So, can we go? Can we go? Yeah, we know you, but it's good to tell the camera so another reporter will know you when I'm not there.
Yeah, so my name is Omoyele Sowore. I'm a presidential candidate of the African Action Congress, and I'm running to become president of Nigeria next year. That's February 16, 2019 is the date of the election.
Thank you very
Keep
much.
it date with us.
Yeah.
Yes.
Thank you very much, sir. So I'm talking about digitalization, how effective that would be in checking corruption in Nigeria.
Oh, it's when you say digitalization, a lot of people think that it's calculators. No, there's a lot of technologies out there, including blockchain technology, that can be used to carry out a lot of transactions that are happening now in government in longhand. By doing it, you reduce the amount of time that is spent carrying out transactions that could be done in seconds, which takes sometimes days. And we've said that these are important area of contracting or our contract system. It's important in the area of how we identify and pay workers, how we monitor the amount of money that goes into every corner and section of the country. Also, it has to do with our ability to transparently make available to people things as they're happening instantaneously. You must have seen recently Kenya. Kenya built a digital, traffic system. That's not even state of the art, as they call it, but it's very effective in the sense that police officers in Kenya can sit down in one room and control and see what is going on around the country. When it happened in Nigeria, 470 million was released for a CCTV system. It's not working. The one in Lagos is not working. But with that, you can fight corruption, right? Of police officers collecting bribes, because they can be filmed. You can fight terrorism, crimes, violent crimes, because people who are carrying out these crimes can be found out, and you can take a picture of them, and when you're looking for them, it's not difficult to declare them wanted because you have the pictures. And that will reduce crime in general, reduce corruption, it will reduce the amount of time wasted for police officers to investigate cases. It will reduce the amount of officers you put out there also who are hard coding policing, as I like to call it. So that's what I mean. But to look at the area of contracting, for example, even the way we do our population census, the way we calculate how much we spend, our budgeting process. Once these things are front loaded into a digital system, it's very easy to find out what things we need to repeat and what we don't need to repeat. It's something that is not too complex to explain, but it's something that if we do and we implement right away, we will have a lot of opportunities in creating transparency in this country and reducing corruption. Like I mentioned, a lot of things are still being done in Nigeria, through longhand. People are still writing receipts, even at the airport. People still write receipts for you, if they see something from you. You're supposed to just have a digital device, or even your cell phone with a barcode scanner can do a lot of things. So I can sit you down and take you through a number of things that could be done digitally. You'll be surprised, but I'm sure a lot of people understand this. But there are people who stand in the way of these processes because they benefit from the snail speed at which we do them, and because it enhances their ability to steal.
Sure. So I want to ask you this. You talked about security votes, that there's no need for all of that. This room for stealing. So can you just say that again to me?
I've never met anybody who can explain to me what governors do with security votes or what the president of the country does with security votes. It's just some lump sum of money made available to the state officials to spend as they like. And this is what encourages corruption. So you find the state that can't pay salary. You have never heard that a state governor didn't pay himself security vote before, but state governors have not paid salaries for 7 months. So I'm just saying that we don't need slush funds for state officials to do what they like with. Every kobo, naira that is accruable to a state government, federal government, we should be able to account for it. And what I understand with security votes is money, slush funds you don't account for, you spend anyhow. There should be no room for that in our financial system, in our public service system.
Finally, sir, sorry for your time. You talked about Halliburton and how, we could have done better with everything.
So in the case of Halliburton, go and check how much the US made. It's just finding the company, jailing people, seizing their assets. They ran into billions. How much did Halliburton bribery involve? It involved about 180 million. But by the last count, the US probably made over $6 billion just extracting punishment, fines from people who were involved and jailing individuals who were seizing their assets. But in Nigeria, where the action itself took place, there are about 4 committees that were set up. A committee was set up, and then another committee was asked to look at the work of the committee, and another committee was asked to review the work of the other committee. Eventually, the only reasonable thing they did was to declare Dick Cheney wanted. And when Halliburton paid 25 million naira, lawyers who were involved, and I'm saying this with authority, went and created an airline with it, a private airline with it. They took the money completely from it, shared it with federal government officials. The reason why I was telling the man who came from the Federal Ministry of Justice that nobody takes them serious. So it doesn't matter that you go to the ICC conferences. That's not the problem. We need, this is a game. There's something people don't understand. That the control of resources around the world is a game. If you want to control your resources, you put in your best team in place to make sure that they favor you. Otherwise, the people on the other side of it, they are very adept at doing it. They will cheat you out of it. You have nothing left, and they will still be pointing the fingers at you that you are the one who is corrupt, whereas they are the ones who are making the biggest form of corruption possible.
Thank you.
Thank you so much. How are you?